This show is part of One Place, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to our daily crime roundup. We are diving into 10 major legal developments and breaking cases from across the nation to keep you informed on the stories that matter most today.
Corey Richins is found guilty of murdering her husband.
An Oregon man allegedly attacked a mother holding her baby.
2 men are arrested for a Texas shallow grave murder.
A Florida bachelor party ended in a violent stabbing incident.
A woman allegedly killed her boyfriend and buried him outside.
California partners face torture charges for abusing an 11-year-old.
A man faces extradition for a random Washington state murder.
A Wisconsin woman allegedly killed a pedestrian while driving unlicensed.
A fake CIA agent allegedly attacked an Amtrak passenger.
A New Jersey man is found insane after killing his brother.
Starting with our top story. The high-profile trial of Corey Richins has reached a definitive conclusion in Utah. A jury has found the mother and children's book author guilty of the murder and attempted murder of her husband, Eric Richins. The prosecution successfully argued that Corey poisoned Eric with a fentanyl-laced Moscow Mule in 2002. This followed a previous attempt to kill him using a poisoned sandwich on Valentine's Day. The verdict also included convictions for insurance fraud and forgery, painting a picture of a calculated plan driven by financial gain and personal motives that shocked the local community.
This case gained national attention not just for the brutality of the crime, but because Corey Richins wrote a book about grief for her children after Eric's death. During the trial, key testimony highlighted the forensic evidence of the fentanyl dosage and the digital trail of her suspicious activities. Defense attorney Sky Lazaro discussed the significance of the outcome, noting the intense emotional weight of the proceedings. The jury's decision on Monday evening brings a sense of closure to a case that has been closely watched since the initial charges were filed against the grieving widow-turned-suspect.
Now let's shift to Oregon. In Portland, a terrifying home invasion has led to the arrest of Judson Curtis DeFeer. Authorities allege that DeFeer entered a woman's home and chillingly announced his presence by saying, "Honey, I'm here," before attempting to rape her. At the time of the attack, the victim was holding her 10-month-old baby and trying to protect her 3-year-old child. The suspect reportedly forced her onto a bed after dragging her into a separate room. This incident was the culmination of a string of assaults that morning, including the inappropriate touching of women in a neighborhood and inside a local church.
The Multnomah County District Attorney Nathan Vasquez emphasized that people have a fundamental right to feel safe in their own homes. DeFeer now faces serious charges, including first-degree attempted rape and first-degree kidnapping. Police were able to apprehend him quickly after the victim, who was found sobbing uncontrollably by responding officers, provided a detailed description. The community is reeling from the brazen nature of these attacks. Chief Bob Day praised the courage of the victims for coming forward and recognized the swift action of patrol officers who helped restore a sense of safety to the Portland neighborhood.
Next up in Texas, 2 men, Chase Cook and Alexander James Nicholas, are now in custody in connection with the death of 24-year-old John Richardson. Richardson's body was discovered in a shallow grave in a wooded area of Fort Worth around Christmas. The investigation began when Richardson failed to arrive at his girlfriend's house after a party. Nicholas allegedly told witnesses that Richardson wouldn't be coming around anymore, and even made a gun gesture with his fingers when asked about his friend's whereabouts. The 2 suspects were arrested months apart as detectives pieced together the events of that late November night when the victim vanished.
The motive appears to stem from an argument during a car ride following the party. Nicholas claimed he left Richardson alive at a specific location, but forensic evidence and witness statements. One witness recalled Nicholas showing off a handgun before leaving the party with the victim. Another witness mentioned that Nicholas was angry over a previous car accident involving Richardson. With both Cook and Nicholas now facing murder charges, the Fort Worth Police Department has moved the case into a full homicide prosecution, seeking justice for the young man found buried just before the holiday season.
Moving to Florida now. A bachelor party in Miami Beach took a violent turn when Olajuwon Dickerson allegedly stabbed his friend after a night of bar hopping. According to police reports, the conflict began because the victim became agitated that women they met were only giving attention to Dickerson. This perceived humiliation led to a confrontation outside their Airbnb. Dickerson is accused of approaching the victim's vehicle and stabbing him in the abdomen. Interestingly, the victim managed to defend himself, resulting in Dickerson also receiving a stab wound to the arm. Both men ended up requiring medical attention, and Dickerson appeared in court remotely from his hospital bed.
Dickerson has been charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. Despite witness accounts and the recovery of a blood-covered folding knife, Dickerson denied being involved in any altercation, claiming he remembered nothing after leaving the bar. The court has ordered him to have no contact with the friend he allegedly attacked, and he is currently being held without bond. This incident serves as a grim reminder of how quickly a celebratory night can escalate into life-threatening violence when alcohol and jealousy are involved. The investigation continues as police gather more statements from the other friends who were present that night.
Staying in Florida. In a gruesome case, from Bay County, Ashley Otero Averett is accused of killing her boyfriend, Joseph Martin Eiler, while he slept. Prosecutors allege she then dismembered his body in a bathtub and buried the remains in the yard of the home they shared. The victim's father, who lived on the same property, became suspicious after hearing gunshots and noticing Averett sifting through ashes in a fire pit. He also observed fresh dirt in the yard and noticed that the bedding had been removed from the house. His concerns grew when his son failed to show up for work for 2 consecutive days.
Averett initially told deputies that Eiler had left with a friend after an argument, but her story quickly fell apart. A family member eventually told authorities that Averett had confessed to the murder. The Bay County Sheriff's Office reported that the family actually called 911 to turn her in, primarily to protect the 2 small children who were living in the home at the time. Averett is now facing a charge of first-degree premeditated murder. This tragic situation highlights the extreme domestic violence that can occur behind closed doors, even with family members living just a few yards away on the property.
Now to California. A shocking case of child abuse has emerged from Stanislaus County, where Priscilla Mestaz and Anthony Machuca face 27 charges each. They are accused of torturing Mestaz's 11-year-old niece over the course of a year. The girl was allegedly forced to sleep in an uninsulated, unfinished garage without a bed or heat during the winter. Authorities say the couple also used a dog leash to drag the child around and forced her to perform exhausting physical exercises under the threat of assault. The abuse was discovered when the girl refused to return home, telling deputies that her aunt had been physically abusing her.
Detectives found surveillance footage inside the home that corroborated the victim's harrowing accounts of being punched, slapped, and strangled. The girl was also found to be malnourished due to a lack of adequate nutrition provided by her caregivers. While Machuca was arrested immediately, Mestaz's arrest was delayed until after she gave birth, as she was in an advanced stage of pregnancy when the investigation began. The charges against them include conspiracy to commit torture and child endangerment. This case has sparked outrage in the community as the details of the girl's living conditions in the backyard and garage have come to light.
Next, Washington State. Daryl Nunez Montero is being extradited from Kentucky to Washington to face charges for the murder of Courtney Clinton. Clinton was found in her SUV with her throat slashed while her 1-year-old son sat crying in the vehicle beside her. Prosecutors described the attack as random and violent. DNA evidence found on the car door and under the victim's fingernails reportedly links Nunez Montero to the scene. Doorbell camera footage also captured him leaving his apartment with a woman resembling Clinton and a baby carrier, only to return hours later, alone. The infant was fortunately unharmed, but was present during the entire brutal ordeal.
The discovery was made by a passerby who initially thought the victim had been shot because of the significant amount of blood in the vehicle. Nunez Montero had been held in Kentucky on unrelated charges before the warrant for first-degree murder was served. Vancouver detectives traveled across the country to ensure he would face justice for the 2024 slaying. The community has rallied around the surviving child, with a fundraiser launched by Clinton's sister to support his future. Nunez Montero is expected to arrive back in Washington within weeks to begin the legal process for this devastating crime that left a young child motherless.
Now to Wisconsin. In Milwaukee, Tamika Martin is facing charges after a fatal hit-and-run that killed pedestrian Calvin Young Jr. Young was struck in a marked crosswalk and thrown over 100 feet by the impact. Martin allegedly drove away from the scene without checking on the victim, despite having 6 children under the age of 12 in her vehicle at the time. Police located her shortly after the crash, about half a mile away, with a damaged SUV. Witnesses reported hearing her on the phone frantically asking someone to pick her up, saying she had hit someone and that the person was not moving.
During her interview with police, Martin admitted to the collision but claimed she panicked. She also stated that her vision is poor and that she was distracted by her GPS at the moment of impact. Investigators discovered that she was operating the vehicle without a valid license. Furthermore, only one of the 6 children in the car was properly secured in a car seat, adding to the severity of the situation. Martin now faces charges of hit and run involving death and knowingly operating without a license. The surveillance video of the incident clearly shows the victim was in a crosswalk when he was struck.
Shifting to Chicago. A bizarre and dangerous incident occurred at Chicago's Union Station when Zakir Ibrahim allegedly attacked an Amtrak passenger. Ibrahim, who claimed to be a CIA agent, reportedly held a knife to a man's nose before attempting to slit his throat. Prosecutors say the victim had to lean back to avoid being killed, with the blade missing his neck by less than an inch. Ibrahim allegedly believed the passenger was a hitman and was suffering from a break from reality during the unprovoked attack. The entire event was captured on surveillance cameras and witnessed by several people, including the victim's wife, causing widespread panic.
Amtrak police officers were able to order Ibrahim to the ground and take him into custody without further incident. He is now facing a charge of attempted murder and is being held without bond at the Cook County Jail. The 25-year-old suspect, originally from London, has a court appearance scheduled for later this month. This case highlights the unpredictable nature of public safety in transit hubs and the challenges of dealing with individuals experiencing severe mental health crises in crowded areas. Fortunately, the victim escaped with his life, but the psychological impact of such a random and violent encounter is undoubtedly profound.
Finally, New Jersey. Matthew Hurtgen has been found not guilty by reason of insanity for the brutal murder of his brother Joseph. The court heard harrowing details of the attack, which involved a knife and a golf club, as well as the killing of a family cat. Matthew, who suffers from severe schizophrenia, believed he was experiencing religious and apocalyptic visions at the time of the crime. Both prosecution and defense experts agreed that he was in a state of psychosis and could not comprehend the reality of his actions. The judge's ruling means Matthew will be committed to a psychiatric facility rather than a prison.
The testimony from forensic psychologist Dr. Gianni Pirelli described Matthew's condition as one of the most severe he had ever seen, noting that the defendant is constantly plagued by hallucinations. Even after the verdict, Matthew reportedly struggles to understand the situation, though he is willing to accept the diagnosis of psychosis. This case underscores the tragic intersection of severe mental illness and violent crime. While the family has lost one son to violence, the legal system has determined that the perpetrator's mental state at the time precluded criminal responsibility, focusing instead on the long-term psychiatric care required to manage his condition.
That concludes our daily briefing. For more updates on these stories and other breaking news, be sure to follow this show. We will see you back here tomorrow for another roundup.